I am thrilled to be able to introduce today a guy who's going to speak to you. I try to take every fifth or so week off from preaching just so that I can breathe and not think so much. And I get jealous of you guys eating movie popcorn during my sermons all the time. And so I get to sit. I've got a bag prepared, and so I'm gonna have some popcorn right after saying we need to eat sanely. Right? I'm going to get to sit and listen, but Brandon is a guy, over the last month, the stuff that I've taught, a majority of it I learned because of my friendship and relationship with this guy. He's a functional diagnostic nutritionist. I don't know if he'll explain what that means, but it basically means that he takes a scientific approach to nutrition. He can send your blood off, they can test it, and send you back results on what foods you should and shouldn't be eating. There's just all kinds of stuff this guy can do. He's brilliant. For those of you that sat through the lectures yesterday, then you know that this guy knows his stuff. I keep telling him he needs to be the Dave Ramsey of nutrition. He needs to have his own radio show. The guy is fantastic. He's a solid friend. He and his wife, Heather, that I don't know if he'll introduce her or not, but Heather and Brandon have been with us this weekend. I don't even know if he likes her, really. I don't know these things. I get the impression he does. But Brandon, why don't you come on up? And just give this guy a big round of applause and listen carefully to what he has to say. It's going to be fantastic.
Right. Cool. All right. You guys got me? Good morning.
Good morning.
Awesome. Bless you guys. Well, thanks for having me. We had a good time yesterday. A lot of people showed up and a lot of good questions, a lot of engagement. We really blew through a whole lot of material very quickly. And when I'm teaching about health, I tend to start out first with what we're going to talk about this morning, which is kind of the mental aspect of things, the why, your motivation, and also how to maintain these things like we're talking about here, keeping it going, how to maintain that. And then I get into the practical things, so what to actually do. So we kind of hit that yesterday, so you guys that were here yesterday got that aspect of it. So now you're going to see about the mental side of this. But a little bit before I get started about myself, one thing I'm going to say about HL, he talks about how I've influenced him, but he's influenced me tremendously as well. So he seems to always be there right at these critical junctures in my life and somehow just as amazingly speaks into them in some amazing way. And one thing I like about him is very, very direct, very thoughtful, and I appreciate that. It's just, there it is. It's not necessarily something I want to hear 100% of the time, but it's something I needed to hear. And this is the same thing, too, with this series as well. He's talking about some things that maybe are a little bit uncomfortable, we don't want to hear necessarily because he cares for you. He's going to say those things. So it's really an awesome thing that you have going here. We've been here a few times. I usually get to sit up here and listen to one of my favorite preachers to speak. I say he can always speak for about twice as long as he usually does. But I get to be up here with you guys today and kind of throw down on this topic. But so anyhow, I also always get to eat really, really well. So I know that's going to be taken care of when we're up here too. So a little bit about my background. My home life growing up, I guess I'll start there as a good place to start. Grew up, I thought, like most people did. Come to find out, not necessarily like everybody did, but we ate pretty well, not like super healthy people, health food junkies, things like that, but ate pretty well. My dad always said, go to sleep on time. I went to the chiropractor. We had an active life. And but when I got to college, some of that kind of went to the wayside. I don't know if you guys have experienced that or not. But it's not like I went out and partied and drank and did drugs and did crazy stuff like some people do kind of in college and get into. It wasn't like that where I just, obvious things. It was like, well, got a little fast food started to sneak in there. You know, you stay up late. You have some stressors. You go to caffeine. You kind of start doing things that you don't realize start to tear down your body. So over the course of 3 or 4 years, I find myself at 23 years old with gastrointestinal problems, with anxiety, and with depression. So if any of you guys have dealt with especially anxiety and depression, I know exactly where you're coming from, what you're dealing with, what you had to struggle with. And it's a tough thing. And for me, there was a partial spiritual aspect to this. I didn't know I could take some authority over my mind and some of my thoughts and the things that were coming against me. But a lot of it was physical. There were physical things that I did not know had done to my body that led to that. So I believe God led me to a health food store locally in Murray, Kentucky. And the people there, they took me underneath their wing. They said, you know what? You can get off of these medications that you're on for this. You can heal your body. You can get stronger and healthier. I said, okay, well, tell me more about that. So just started to learn. They said, read this book, try these supplements, eat this way, change those things. Heather and I were dating at the time. And we just started to make those changes together. Again, 23 years old, dealing with these issues. It was just like, so you don't have to be 50 years old to have health issues. Those can be very early on with people. So what that kind of started in me, ignited something in me, was this passion for health. And keep in mind, I was in a whole different field. I was in technology, so IT type of stuff. So basically troubleshooting computers, networks, machinery, things of that nature. So when I got into this, I found, okay, it's some of the similar thought processes. It's troubleshooting computers, and now it's troubleshooting the human body. So I took a scientific approach to things, and it really just was like an easy transition, believe it or not. So over the course of time, I said, I want to do this professionally. I want to do something more here. So I started to actually make that career transition there. Found a course that I took. It was called Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. And that actually gave me a nice framework, because when you're studying this, if you guys are into health, I don't know how many of you guys feel this way, it's kind of piecemealed. You're hearing stuff all over the place. It's just floating everywhere. And like, how do you bring it down to some kind of system you can actually use to help people? So that's what this system taught me to do, is kind of take all of this information through observation, through questionnaires, and especially through testing. So HL was talking about it, through test your urine, your stool, your spit, your blood, all those different things, get feedback from that, and I can take that information, figure out what's going wrong with your body, what is not functioning like it's supposed to, and then make recommendations to begin to get those body parts functioning. And the cool thing is, once the body's functioning well, symptoms go away, disease goes away, you feel better. It's a very non-specific approach to things. So I found that course, took the course, and then started to make the transition to helping people in like this professional way, one-on-one with people. Also get to teach for the course still today. I actually get to instruct other people that have an interest in this, just like myself, that may not be into health necessarily or have that as their background or medical background. Yes, I talk with doctors and chiropractors and personal trainers, people like that, but all sorts of people that want to learn how to do this work. You can do this. So I get to teach people, so I get to see the practitioner side of this. I get to see the one-on-one side of this. So I've seen the whole spectrum. I've seen lots and lots and lots of people. All their information is wonderful. It gives that body of knowledge there for me. Plus, I enjoy it. It's like getting to work, doing work that you love, getting paid to do something that you love, and that's just a tremendous thing. So I'm very thankful that God's led me down that path. All right, well, this morning, one thing I definitely want to get into and kind of talk about most, like I said, is kind of the whys of this, why we want to do these things. HL's done a good job covering this. I endorse everything he said for sure. But the why of this and how to keep things motivated. So over 13 years of Heather and I kind of working on our own self-experimentation, trying this, trying that, and then 7 years of professional, working with people one-on-one, learning how to do those things. What have I learned? What have I seen? So I don't know about you guys, I always enjoy books where somebody has done something for a long time, they said, okay, here's what I've learned that works. I love those type of books because it saves me a lot of trouble. I think a quote I've heard, the best experience is somebody else's, something to that nature, so learn from them. So those are some of the things I want to kind of outline for you guys today. Some of the mental changes there. The physical things actually to do, you can read about those and implement those, but if your mind's not where it needs to be right, you won't last or you won't want to do it in the first place, and it's very important. So, one thing I want to start out with, though, is kind of what HL's talking about, is kind of the why. Why are we talking about this in church? When we first started going to Hope Harbor about 12 years ago now, 11 years ago, Hope Harbor in Murray, Kentucky, Pastor asked me if there's a mission or a ministry or something I wanted to do. And I said, I think I'd like to teach a class on natural health. Well, that's what became the 7 Pillars of Health class. And so taking that framework of those 7 pillars, and then I've kind of added to it, amplified it since then, and made it into a class we can teach as a 13-week course. He knew it was important and part of us, because wonderful thing that I learned years ago, growing up, kind of felt like I compartmentalized things with God. It was like, okay, it's the God compartment. I go to church, kind of check the box. Yeah, I'd read the Bible some and live a good life, and some of those laws and stuff were kind of easy. It's like, okay, I get that. I understand not to do this and to do this and do that. But when I discovered that God cared about more than just that, He cared about my relationships and my mental health and my physical health and my finances and anything I was dealing with, because we're not just spirit, right? We're spirit, soul, and body. So all those things together, He cares about all those things. And what that did was my love for Him grew. It's like, wow, you care about everything and you can handle everything that I'm dealing with. You want to be involved in that? So if we compartmentalize things too much, I think we're missing a huge part of what God wants for us and what He wants to take care of, because it's kind of obvious. If you're not here this morning, could you have been sick and that's why you're not here? Or you couldn't go on this mission trip because you were sick, or you couldn't serve, you didn't feel like helping that person. If your health is not there, it's going to slow down your process. I love the analogy HL is using with the barnacles on the ship. And those barnacles slow down the speed of that ship. It's not as efficient. It's not moving through life like it needs to. You're hindered by those health conditions, those things that are there. So getting the barnacles off the ship is super key to doing that. So it's just kind of obvious. If you have a mission to do, if you're healthier, you can just do it better. So that's part of the why, part of the motivation to begin with. But I want to go through a few scriptures to talk about, kind of see where the Bible talks about health and where there's actually a little bit of a commandment for health. We're actually kind of commanded to say, hey, take care of these bodies. And a little bit about God's heart with health. And then I'll go into some of the individual things I want you guys to think through as you're making this journey and walking through here. So, all right. So, first thing is, if you guys think about a bird's eye view here of the Bible, sickness was not present in the Garden of Eden. It sure wasn't present in Jesus' ministry because He went about healing people, right? That's a big part of it. I mean, that's almost like the bulk of what is in the New Testament is Jesus going and healing people, that type of thing. So God's will is for us to be strong. No sickness in heaven either. So anywhere where God's will is being done, there's no sickness. So sickness is not something God wants for you. And part of it, obviously believe in divine healing and God intervening and He wanting you to be strong, healthy, and immediate healing. Definitely believe in those things. We'll stand with you for those things. But also, too, there's things that we can do and things He's leading us to do. So that's a practical side of things. So I talk about God meeting our natural with His supernatural so that things come together. So if you're doing this journey along with God, there's going to be things that you're going to be like, wow, that's amazing how quickly this changed. Where you hit a revelation or something is given to you from God. That things just happen so quickly and wonderfully. So Matthew 9:35, Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. And Jesus answered, "Don't you know me, Philip, even after I have been among you for such a long time? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father." So if we see Jesus, what He's doing, how He acts, we see the Father. So God and Jesus, same thing. We're seeing those things together. So Jesus didn't do anything that He didn't see His Father do or tell His Father to tell Him to do. So it's part of God's desire for us. 3 John 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in every way, that your body may be kept well, even as your soul keeps well and prospers. So God's desire is for us to be strong. So if that's not in your mind, you haven't come to terms with that He wants you strong and whole, get there. It's one of the biggest revelations. If you don't think God's commands and what He wants for you is good and wants to help you, and so if He says to you, whispers, get off of this food, don't eat this thing, change this behavior, it's all for our betterment. It's for our good. We have to trust that it's good. Maybe a little difficult on the flesh. We'll talk about the flesh here in a little bit, but we know that's good. All right, so the commandment of health. I want to go through a couple scriptures here, talk about why this is really important. So the first one here is 1 Corinthians. It's 6, 19 and 20. Do you not know that your body, so our physical body here, is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You are bought with a price. Therefore honor God with your body. I think a lot of us, I used to think this too, this just applied to sexual sin. That's all this was talking about. But think about it, this is the body. This is every way. So if you wouldn't come and dump trash in here or trash in the church building or trash up somebody's car that you're borrowing, why would we do it to our physical bodies? So there's a principle here of taking care of our bodies, again, not because He wants to take away your sugar or your Snickers bars or whatever. It's because He cares about you. We know these things are going to be better for you. You're going to be better in the long run with these things. Second one here is Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, brethren, and I beg you in view of all of God's mercies, to make a decisive dedication. It's a big thing, a resolution, right? Decisive dedication, not going to turn back. Of our bodies, presenting all your members, your body, your faculties, your mind, as a living sacrifice, holy, devoted, consecrated, and well-pleasing to God, which is your reasonable, rational, intelligent service in spiritual worship. So he's saying, dedicate your bodies. And part of that is saying, okay, I'm yielding my mind and my spirit and my time and my body to you, Lord. Whatever you'd have me to do. So whatever direction you get. If you've never prayed about your health before, ask God, what do I need to change? What do you want me to start with? What are you calling me to do? Start today. That's one of the biggest things there. I'll talk about your journey in a second here. Also, 2 Corinthians 7:1. Since we have these promises, dear friends, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting holiness out of reverence for God. So again, toxins, chemicals, germs, all sorts of things, toxins in our food, these things, we don't want to pollute ourselves with these things. So there's really some commandments here that are like, it's pretty clear. Take care of yourself. All right? Switch gears here a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about cultivating this fruit of temperance or self-control. One thing I mentioned HL was talking about was that we've been given a supernatural power. Here's where we have the advantage as a believer. A lot of diet programs, a lot of weight loss things that we get with, it's more about the physical body, and it gets in a little into the soulish realm, right? Because your soul is your mind and your will and your emotions, or your decisions, desire, those things. It gets into a little bit of that, but many times doesn't talk about the spiritual side of things. So we're hitting 2/3 of the human being. I think that's why a lot of them fail, because there's not a spiritual aspect to this. We're not seeing the supernatural power that comes with this. So a few scriptures here, Galatians 5:22. You guys know this fruit of the Spirit. Joy, love, peace, patience. This is a process that takes a little bit of time working on your own health. You're going to see changes, some immediate things, some big jumps, but then it's like, well, nothing's really happening. And all of a sudden, something else happens. So there's some patience involved in this. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness. All right, we're going to trust the process, what we're doing. Gentleness and self-control. Self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. It's there. We have the ability to be self-controlled, to tell our flesh no, to tell that mind no, to tell its cravings no. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, I like that, of love and self-discipline. So self-control, self-discipline, it's resonant within us. We just have to kind of cultivate that, start to make those decisions toward that, and that'll be a powerful force to help you continue on through this. So we have a supernatural help to do this. It's not just, I'm going to will this, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to do this. There's a power. So instead of this, sometimes, you got to talk to your body and say, no, I'm not going to eat that. Don't touch that. Don't do that. There is times to do that. But there's also times to rest in what God's doing in your life and the power that's there. All right. So hopefully that sets up a little bit of the scriptural background of why to do this. Why are we talking about this in church? So everybody, if you don't have a ministry or you don't know your ministry, I'll say this too, pray about that and ask God for that too. Because everybody is given a ministry, something that they're supposed to be doing on this earth to help the kingdom and help humanity, all those things. Search for that, find that, let God reveal that to you. Because once you realize that you've got your motivation and what you're supposed to do here, then some of these things become a lot easier. Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I know this food or this behavior is holding me back from doing that. It's no problem to lob that off. So we're applying spiritual power to things that we don't even think about, I think, necessarily applying it to. We think about, okay, not to steal, not to kill, not to commit adultery, these different things. We think about applying spiritual power to that. But what about our physical bodies and cravings and desires, those things? It can be applied there. So that's why I'm basically trying to spiritualize this physical side of things. All right. Your why. So this is where I like to start when it comes to why am I doing this? Why do I want to make these changes? The first thing is to identify your why or your motivation. Is it a big thing like your ministry, what you're doing? Is it about your family? Do you want to be around long enough to see your child have children, see your grandchildren, or to get married? You want to have energy to play with your children. A lot of people don't have that. They come home and they're very tired and they can't even hardly make dinner for their kids. They can't do anything because they're so physically tired because of their health, some of the choices that they make. Is it something like, hey, I just want to be able to do an activity I used to enjoy. I'd love to go be able to play golf again. Something like that. Do you feel like it's holding you back from your job at work? If you were to think more clearly, had more energy? Could you excel there? Any of those things, start to think about the motivation why it's holding you back financially. So this is costing me money. This medication, this surgery, all this really high insurance, this is costing money. They can be going into helping people or into the kingdom or just things that you need in your life. Think about that motivation. I say write it down. If there are multiple things, write it down or put a picture of it. Get it before you all the time. That's the first major tip there is identify your why, because you're going to need to. Because this journey is not necessarily easy. For some people, it's not too bad. Other people, it takes a little bit of time. And that's just the process that we're involved with. So when you do have those times when you're like, this is hard, I don't want to make that decision, keep that why in front of you, your motivation. Why am I doing this? If anything, maybe just your children. If you have children, it's just for my kids. So keep that before you in your mind. If you got an issue with fast food, maybe put that why in your car, in your dashboard or something. Just something practical. See those things in front of you. All right. Another thing that I think is really important to understand too is self-care. So talk about self-care, it's taking care of yourself. Okay? And the big thing I want you guys to understand is self-care is not selfish. Got the quotes up there. Self-care is not selfish, all right? A couple quotes here that are really good here. First one here. Self-care is not selfish. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. Second one, self-care is not about self-indulgence. It's about self-preservation. So I work with a whole lot of women mostly. About 75% of people I work with are women. Not sure exactly why that is. I think maybe they're just more in tune with their body. Not sure what it is, but a lot of women, I work with a lot of women. So it's nice. And so many of those women, one of the reasons that they are where they are with their health conditions, what they're dealing with, is because they put everybody first. Always, for years and years and years, years and years and years, did not put themselves where they need to be at their proper level. So when I say self-care, it's not selfish. Like it says here, we're not talking about self-indulgence, where you shirk all your responsibilities and you go to the spa and you go wherever you want to go. It's talking about self-preservation. I mean, yeah, we see sacrifice in the Bible, but we also see Jesus going to a solitary place away from the crowds and praying and getting recharged and building up. Yeah, he was giving out. And think about that. Just sitting up here with a few people praying for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes after a service. There's a giving out that happens, but you've got to fill yourself back up. Obviously, time in the Word fills you up in a spiritual way and a physical way, but there's also things we should do to fill up our bodies and make them stronger again. And again, this is a logical thing to me too, because if you're not well, can you help the people that you're trying to sacrifice for? You can't. Or what if you die early? Well, you're not there to help them. So it's logical things here. So if you feel like that, boy, you know, me taking a little time or investing some money into my health and trying to do something different, or saying, you know what, setting some boundaries, you know, I can't do that. You're going to have to figure that out on your own, get somebody to help you. Those things, those are not selfish. So make that shift in your mind if that's what you deal with. Those things are not selfish. Those are self-preservation that's actually going to help you in the long run and those people that you want to care for in the long run. So let go of that. Of course, it starts with baby steps, right? If you've been so used to so many years of putting everybody else first, start with small little things, and it's okay. All right. Another thing, there are no shortcuts or magic pills. All right. I think this guy's taking a shortcut here. But there are no shortcuts or magic pills, and this is in the pharmaceutical world. This is in the natural world. Our culture likes instantaneous. I tease our daughter about, she's 11 years old, and she'll play some games and stuff on the iPad, and I'll tease her about that. I'll say, why don't we go bake something in the kitchen? And sometimes she gives us a little bit of trouble about that because it's kind of hard to do. You actually physically have to do something because I think she's so used to click, mix up the batter, put it in the oven. It's so instant. Like there's something you actually have to do. And I think this is permeating into our culture. I can just push a button and make it happen. So it doesn't happen with health. There's no magic pills, not one thing you can do because it's multiple things. Yeah, a couple of reasons why. One thing, there's multiple areas. That's why there's 7 pillars of health. All of these areas have an effect on the body. You address all those areas. Medication is great. I'm not anti-doctor, anti-medical at all. I talked about this yesterday. Not at all. We have a great medical system. If you're hurt, or need to have a surgery, or you're in major pain or a major infection, we need to look into the body. Praise God we have all that stuff. But if you can keep from going into that system, why not? That's a forced-in system. You don't have a choice when you go there. You have to go there because it's life-threatening or something serious. This is opt-in. Self-care is opt-in. You can make the decision to do this and hopefully keep yourself out. It's true preventative medicine. True preventative is taking care of yourself on a day-to-day basis. Basically, the only way to reverse disease is to deal with the 7 pillars. That is really the key. And it's really that simple. It's how we're thinking. It's how we're moving, how we're resting, how we're eating. It really is that basic. So if you talk to me about whatever's going on with you, what you'll probably find is hear me say some of the similar things to every single person, because that's really so much of what there is to it. It really can be that simple. So don't underestimate, I'm saying, the power of working on yourself, these 7 pillars that we're talking about, these areas that he's talking about. It really does work. I've seen it time and time and time again, by the way. All right. Another thing here is take it slow. Low-hanging fruit. Grab the things that you can take care of immediately. If you can drink more water, if you can go to bed a little bit earlier, move a little bit, make a few changes, drop a certain food out of your diet. Do that and just take it slow. It's actually better for you to take it slow. It's better to look at this thing as a marathon than it is a sprint. If you tend to think, I'm going to make 20 changes tomorrow and start running 5 miles a day, you're going to be sore, you're going to be disillusioned, and you're going to quit. So I'd rather come back 6 months from now or a year and talk to some of you guys that said, you know what, I made a few changes, I stuck with those, and I've seen these changes, and I'm continuing to do better. Rather than see somebody say, yeah, I started off real good the first week, and then I quit. Better off, slow and steady wins the race. Just like the turtle, okay? Slow and steady wins the race. Keep the enemy out of the house, too. If you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, don't bring them into your house. If you've got a problem with sugar, if you've got a problem with chips, if you've got a problem with anything you don't need to be eating, just don't bring the enemy into the house. That's just a simple, practical thing. Don't do it. A bit of good news for you guys. It's only effort until it becomes routine. Have any of you heard of this concept before? It's only effort until it becomes routine. So if you say, I'm going to change my diet, okay, you're going to spend twice as much time in the grocery store because you're what? You're looking at labels, nutrition facts, ingredient lists. You're looking at them. It's going to take a little bit of time, but eventually, okay, you're back down to your normal time very quickly. A little bit of effort. You have to think about, what am I eating here? Look at my ratios of fats and proteins. Oh yeah, I need to be drinking water. Oh yeah, I'm going to be someplace where there's not going to be any water. I need to carry some water with me. Okay, I've got to think about these things. Yes, it's effort, but just like anything else, whatever you're doing now, it's pretty routine, isn't it? Well, I had to start somewhere. So the good thing is, you just do a few things, keep them consistent. All of a sudden, it's your routine. It's your way to think about it. Health things that we do, I don't have to think about them much anymore. They just become a regular habit. So that's some good news there. You keep it going, it's going to become a routine. You don't have to even think about it anymore. Also, be a good observer of your body. This is super key here. If you find something that you're doing makes you feel poorly, or you eat a food and you get a sinus gumminess that goes on, you start clearing your throat a bunch, your stomach bothers you, you get irritable, you get a headache 2 hours later. If you don't sleep, go to bed at a certain time, you feel cranky, you can't think very clearly. It's observing your body, because this journey for you, everybody's body is different and their journey is going to be different. Yeah, there's basic things we're talking about here, but for you, it's everybody's individual. Your body chemistry, the stresses on your body, your genetics, your history, all these things make it so different. So you have to be a good observer of your body. So if you notice you eat something and you have a skin breakout, something pops up, you get diarrhea from something, you get constipated from something, your body's giving you feedback. We talked about yesterday looking at your stool. All right, it's giving you feedback. Take a look in the tidy bowl every time you go. It's a window into bowel function, into your health. Take a look at those things. Observe. Don't just go through life mindlessly, not thinking about things. Be aware of it and aware of your body. Also, be intentional. If we're not intentional and we're going to do this, you're going to very likely go with the current of the culture, because it's very easy not to be healthy. It's just the where things have evolved with our culture. So be very intentional. That doesn't mean that you're doing everything perfect every single time. I think the biggest problem people run into is they just quit as soon as they mess up one time. If you won't quit, if you just get back up on the horse, do it again the next week or the next day, you're going to succeed because you're going to keep working toward that goal. And all these things are kind of obvious, but they're mental things we have to keep in mind. I think some of us get down. We get into condemnation. We get down on ourselves. Oh, I didn't do it so well. I didn't do it perfectly. It's okay. We're not going to do it perfectly. Just keep going. Don't quit. Go back to your motivation. Get into prayer about it. Think about, okay, get back on the horse and keep going. Another thing here, too, is find a buddy. This is, I think, really important to do. Not just an exercise buddy, but somebody that can help you be accountable, help encourage you, share recipes, get together and talk about these things, keeping these things in front of your mind at all times or on a very regular basis. Last year in January, HL and I called me up and said, hey, I want to do the AIP diet. I said, okay, I'm going to do it with you then. You guys can look up AIP diet. It's a pretty strict one, but it's a very beneficial one. So that was one of the best months that I had because I had him to talk to. We'd text back and forth, call each other. Our wives would share recipes. And we had actually kind of had a good time. But it didn't feel like I was doing a diet as much or being real strict on something because I had somebody to help me along with it and both encourage each other. We talked about changes we were seeing in our bodies. Hey, you know what? I've noticed my belly's changed a little bit. I'm sleeping better. My skin's better. Different things are happening. So find somebody to kind of partner up with. When we teach this class at Hope Harbor, we say, hey, somebody in this class, find somebody that you can kind of connect with and kind of go on this journey. Maybe has similar conditions, similar situations you're dealing with, similar family life or similar struggles. Connect with that person. All right. Last thing in here I want to say is don't get into condemnation. So if you haven't done good for the last 20 years, 30 years, whatever, you can start today. I had a question yesterday about somebody that was older. Can they make changes and will it help their health? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. Make a change. Start from where you are because you really don't know where you're at. Maybe just because you don't have symptoms, that doesn't mean that you're healthy necessarily. There's a whole lot of function that gets lost before your body shows it or before a test can find it as well. So you don't know really where you're at. So start today, make those changes. And you just basically, Isaiah 43, forget the former things, do not dwell in the past. Philippians 3:13, brothers, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. One thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the prize of what God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Forget about that stuff. Whatever your decisions you made, who cares? Get past all that. Don't condemn yourself. God's with you. We're with you. Church, you got a very supportive church. Everybody's going to encourage you to do those things, and they make a difference. 2 more things. Stay in the Word and confess good things over your body. These are supernatural practices, and they actually work in a tremendous way. Talk about your body. Talk about good things. Tell your body what it's going to do. We have authority over our bodies. Find a good confession. Find verses that are good for you. Memorize those or speak those. So a couple of them, Psalm 119, 103, 104. How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Got a problem with sugar? Hey, there's a great verse right there. You want to have a sugar craving? Go for that verse there. Use that instead. In Psalm 103, who satisfies your desires with good things. So if you've got cravings, desires, it's God that's going to satisfy those things. So there's a supernatural, again, power that you can apply to the body. Do I have another minute? All right. I want to read a quick story talking about how the body will start to change. This is one more concept I want to deliver to you guys today. We're spirit, soul, and body, right? So when we're saved, the spirit becomes perfect, regenerated. It works great. The soul and the body, they take a little time to catch up. Our mind, our will, our emotions, our physical body, those things take some time to catch up. So that's all right. It's just the process that we go through. It's why we don't beat each other up when we make mistakes. If we've just accepted the Lord or been walking with Him for 20 years, things take time a little bit, and it's okay. But one story I wanted to share here with you, Came from Believer's Voice of Victory magazine, from Marty Copeland. She's telling a story about herself. She said, of course, it doesn't mean we're immediately going to crave a piece of fruit over a chocolate candy bar. That's why we have to train our senses and enjoy healthy food. Research shows if you eat healthy foods for an extended period of time, you can actually train your senses to enjoy healthy foods. I had to do this early in my understanding of this revelation. One night, as I filled my dinner plate with small portions, the Lord revealed to me that I wasn't eating less for the right reasons. I was eating a smaller dinner so I could have a low-fat fruit bar as my 8 p.m. treat, which I looked forward to all day. After further inspection of that so-called healthy treat, I discovered it was mostly pure sugar. That's why I craved it every night, because I had trained my senses and my body to desire that nightly pick-me-up. So if you start to eat healthy foods and you don't think you like it very much, give it some time. The body will switch. The flesh will do what we tell it to do. It does what we train it to do. Just think about it like a child or an animal or anything else that you're training. It's going to do what you end up feeding it and giving it, and it eventually will make that change. Kind of like with exercise, I say, get past the first 5 minutes. It's bad for everybody. Get past the first 5 minutes and then you're golden. So the Lord challenged me to fast that snack, sow it to the Spirit, and eat a piece of fruit instead, which I did for 30 days straight. At the end of that month, I was proud of myself for sticking to it, so I thought I'd reward myself and have one of those low-fat treats. I opened the wrapper and bit into the fruit bar. I could hardly believe it. It didn't taste good at all. It wasn't like anything I remembered. In fact, it tasted like chemicals. Do you know why? Because I had trained my sense of taste to prefer healthy, unprocessed food, and you can do the same. I felt that. I've seen that with hundreds of people to make that change, and it works. So just keep some of these things in mind. Review this. I know it'll be up, so review these things, make notes, and if I can help in any way, we're happy to do that. So thanks.
I took a few notes, and I just want to go back to his slide on why and say how important this is. Because we talk about health, and it can be so that you can have better Instagram pictures and look, you can pull it up and show your washboard abs and do the duck lips and attract a mate. That could be your goal in life. But I think it's important to find something more transcendent than that as to why you want to be healthy. And I'm processing this yesterday and today. And in coming to plant a church, one of my biggest concerns was my health problems. And you and I talked about that a lot, because there were months where I was down and out because I had these chronic sinus problems, and I was taking all these pills and miserable and feeling so bad. And so I want to watch my kids graduate from high school. I want to walk my daughter down the aisle one day, and those are whys. And I can't decide if this is just goofy to say to you guys or not, but you guys are my other why. I want to be healthy because God has given me this incredible opportunity to serve you and to be a part of your lives. And I say all that to say this thing of finding your why is a huge part of of finding a partner to help you, of not giving up when you've already blown it. So on this last month, I've been sick, and he knows I've been sick because we've been texting back and forth. I'm miserable. I don't even want to get out of bed. And it's hard to be a pastor when that's going on. And so when you find the why, it motivates you to make the decisions and the changes that you need to make. And so I want to encourage you, if nothing else, and there's a lot you can absorb here. So if you took notes, remember the notes. Watch the sermon, think it through. But I really want to encourage you to find that why. Why work so hard to be healthy? And I'll tell you why for you. It's because God has created you. It says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. He has designed you to be special. He has designed you to be a person that makes a significant, substantial difference in someone else's life, and you can't do it if you're not healthy. This is the end of our month of talking about health. Next month, we're moving on to talk about relationships and the importance of that. But I want to drive that home with you, is that you have a mission in life. And this isn't about beating anybody up. It isn't about slamming sugar. It isn't about anything like that. It's about this idea that you were uniquely made to do something, and being healthy is a good portion of that, so please take it seriously.